Now, it's funny that Morten said that he didn't know what I was going to talk about, which is kind of funny because I don't know what I'm going to talk about. But I'll tell you what I'm going to start from. It's great that we're gathered here. We're gathered here in a good cause. We're all together learning the same thing. And I want to start out by setting something straight. Anyone that's been on stage, myself included, there is no one here that is better than anybody else. There is no one here that is, more worthy than anyone else. The only difference is there are people here that have forgotten how powerful they are. There are people here that don't know their own power, that aren't aware of how good they are. Maybe they're lacking in a bit of self-belief. Maybe we're having a moment of, I've come through this journey, I didn't quite have the start, but I'm here to make it up. Well, that's true, but you know what? It's a circle. Nobody can be more advanced or further behind someone else on the line of a circle. And that's something I want you to bear in mind. I have maybe some years on some of you. Some of you got some years on me, that's great. I can learn from a 10-year-old guy, because he's got 10 years that I haven't lived. And I want to say that while we're here, there's no authority here. All I have is some experience, some bad habits which I'm going to pass on to you. A few little theories, a few little, niggling tendencies that you might want to benefit from. But I've met some fantastic people. I've met pickup artists. I've met motivational speakers. I've met martial artists. I've met artists, photographers. All these people, the thing they have in common is they've inspired me. And I expect to be inspired. I expect that the conversations I have with some of you will inspire me. And I really believe this, that the most perfect state of mind when we're in a conversation is to be in wonderment, to not know. Don't you think the most beautiful thing we can experience in the world is the mysterious? Huh? When we are wondering, when things are wonderful. Because they are. Things are wonderful. And the only thing that stops wonder is coming from a place of knowing, coming from a place of, we already know. Girls, you're smiling. Have you ever had the conversation, the guy comes up and he's Mr. Know-It-All, he knows everything, he's like very confident, and that's great. He all smiles, seems to be in his element, but it's almost too much. Have you ever had that? I've been that guy, so I apologize in advance for my past. I've been that guy. Some of you have been that guy, some of you maybe still be that guy, that person. And that brings us on to my next subject, which is, all women crave what? Attention. Who said attention? Attention. They do. What else do they crave? Security. What do men crave?
Sex.
And?
Approval.
Approval. Thank you. When we can eliminate this approval-seeking behavior that we have, when we can get rid of that, that's when we really start to shine. One of my biggest epiphanies, you see this word banded around, used everyone says epiphany. What is your greatest epiphany? Think about that. Think about that for a moment. I'm going to shut up for a minute while you think what your greatest epiphany is. Epiphany is when you have a discovery, when you realize something that's very important. It really has an impact on you, and it stays with you. It's almost life-changing. The biggest epiphany for myself, it was very important, very powerful. I was in the playground at school. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old, and I was being picked on. I was being bullied. I had always long hair, always long eyelashes, so I looked like a girl. And the only other kid that got bullied was a redhead, because if you have red hair, you're going to get bullied. I don't know why that is. And this other kid came up and shoved this other guy that was bullying me, trying to take my lunch money, out of the way, and said, "Leave him alone." Do you know how long it took him? It took him probably 30 seconds to do that. 30 seconds of his time. But for me, it was like, wow, somebody cares. He gave 30 seconds of his time to protect me, who he didn't even know. And this might not seem like it relates to women. Sorry, I just destroyed some of the shrubbery. But it does. It relates to everything, because everything we do in life as men, if we're heterosexual men, everything we do, we might not realize, but it's really to get a mate. Think about that. Now, we can go and work a big job, we can get big wage increases, we can get, you know, a bigger fucking plasma television every year. But why are we doing that? Is it for approval, do you think? Who are we doing it for? Is it to show off? Is it really for ourselves only? If nobody could see that we were driving the nice car or wearing the nice clothes, if we were invisible, would we be acting the same way? I really want you to think about that. We're going to get into some juicy stuff. Don't worry, it's not all going to be theory or in-a-game stuff, but I've got to touch on this because this is the foundation of everything that we're going to learn from here. Everything we do is really for, you know, to make ourselves feel good, isn't it? Well, my epiphany was this: 30 seconds of this man's time. And I felt great. I knew I was protected. I felt not less important, but I felt a little more present. I could go about my day without fear. It removed fear from my life. Whenever you walk into a room, own that room. Own it. Before you go in, I was saying, Leia said this to me, and thank you for reminding me. Before you go into any room, there's no woo-woo about this, there's nothing crazy about it. Before you go into any room, take a minute and just remember that you're here, you're absolutely present, absolutely in the moment, and everybody here is your friend. There's no fear. You're here to give something, to share something. Anyone you speak to could be the next conversation you have, for instance, could be the most important conversation you ever have in your life. You don't know. This state of wonder. If I'm doing what you guys call day game, or if I'm out in a bar, it's the same thing. Before I approach somebody, before I go and speak to anyone, I don't know if it's going to be the most important conversation. If I'm single, I don't know if the next girl I talk to is the next girl that I'm going to share my time with. You know, if we're going to get all sexy together, I don't know. But she'll know before I do. And all I can do is not screw it up. So approval seeking is really something combined with wonder, and this is where it comes to this point. Everything we do, even what you're doing right now, is a result of your beliefs. You're here because you believe something. You're listening to me because you believe something. Everything we do is an act of self-definition. We're only acting because of our beliefs. So your beliefs really make who you are. If you believe that you're unhappy, or if you believe that something is going to be negative, you're going to experience that, right? If we go into a bar and think, oh, you know, I'm not feeling it tonight, we call it, you know, we're not in state. Do you know what I mean? Where you don't feel quite up to it and you don't have a good experience. That wasn't the world giving that to you, that was you bringing that to you. So, own the room. Be prepared that everything that you do could be the most important and beautiful thing ever. Feel a default state in wonder. Don't know anything. Knowing and answers, all that stuff, if you have the answer, kills creation. If you go in with a question, that's more interesting. It just allows for more. Now, I just want to go back to this moment. This guy that gave me 30 seconds of his time in a playground, do you know what he did for me? He taught me the biggest lesson, that the most important thing in my life is time. Time is our most precious thing. You're here investing your time, listening to us, all the people that have come up here, and for that I thank you. I'm incredibly appreciative of it. It means that I get to pass on some of this, but you are investing. Now, when you go up to a girl in the street, little reset here. Who's ever done this? You go up to a girl, it doesn't matter if she's in the street or in a bar or at a supermarket, and you're giving your time, you're just standing there trying to ask her questions, trying to get her approval, spending your time, and whether she's receptive or not, because maybe you haven't calibrated, maybe you're not sure, but you're still there. And you maybe spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, some guys in clubs will do. They'll stand there, put themselves right in front of the girl, and just park themselves and try and get their approval. Now, we've all done this. I've done this. I've been that guy. Now think about what you're saying. You're investing, you're giving your most precious value away. You're giving something so important. Put it this way. If I gave any of you, you know, what's a lot of money? If I give you is it krone, Norwegian krone? If I gave you 1 million Norwegian krone, is that a lot of money? That'll probably buy you a sandwich over here, I think. You know? Okay, 10 million Norwegian krone. If I gave you 10 million Norwegian krone and said, hey, go buy a house, go buy yourself a mansion, and you go buy yourself a nice mansion, and you have it for what? Say you have it for a week, you live in it, you start to like it, it's cool, it's your space. hey, I've got a house worth 10 million. And then I come along and I burn it down. Or I say, I'm only joking, it's all a part of a TV show, it's not really yours. I take it away in some form or fashion. Do you know what's going to happen to your mind? In your mind, you were given that. You were given the 10 million, you didn't earn it. You were just given it. So when it's taken away from you, we say, easy come, easy go. It's not important, we were given it, we don't value it. Same thing if I gave you 1,000 for a suit, and you then spill, food on it or something, or ruin it. You're not going to be bothered, I was given it. I didn't earn it. But guess what? If you work, you blood, sweat, and tears, like say Morten's put, I don't know, God knows what, 14 hours a day for the last few months into making this, he's earned it. It's something he's invested his time in, his most important and valuable possession. And he's invested it. No one's going to take that away from him. Everything he does, he's going to feel so good. Because time, I don't want you to waste it. I don't want you to stand in front of a girl or a guy, and if you're not creating something that's special, if you're not into something that's worthwhile, then don't let it take your time. These people that go into movie theaters and watch a film, and halfway through the film they're like, oh, I don't really like this film, I'm going to leave. And they get up at like Last Exorcism or whatever, that was a terrible movie, and you stayed in. I hate you for that. What are you doing? You're saying, my time's not valuable. I'm here having an experience I don't really like. So I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to stay here because I've invested a little bit of time, so I might as well invest the rest. No. If you're in a film and you don't like it, you would get out of the theater. So if you're in front of someone and you're not creating a beautiful connection, there's nothing interesting happening, pleasure to meet you, and get out. Because if you don't do that, you don't know if you're going to be squandering the time that you might meet the next person. You see how that works? It's just so important. Don't waste your time. I've seen guys in a coffee shop or something, waiting for friends, waiting for people to arrive. They're with a few people. They've got a couple of guys around them, and they're waiting for a girl to come along. And when she turns up, see if this sounds familiar. The guys that were slouching, listening to their friends, just dossing about, the girl comes in, she's looking all hot, and they change their behavior. They alter themselves. They straighten up. They smart themselves up a bit little, they put on their best face. You notice that? I've done that. I still do that a little bit. Everyone does it a little bit. That's okay. But doing it to the point that you're going out of character, it's no good. When the girl comes along and they're all like, sticking their chest out and, making themselves all look presentable. No, don't do that. The person that meets you, if she's not meeting you in your natural state, even if it's your best state, but your natural state, she's not meeting the real you. So if you want better interactions with women, and this is something really powerful, the single most important thing I say tonight is this. And it doesn't matter what level you can perceive yourself as having, it doesn't matter if you're a PUA, a grandmaster, or some kind of guru, or if you're just starting out. Find someone who needs help. Find someone who is in a similar or lesser position of you, who has less confidence in you, and teach them. And here's why. If you're just starting out, or if you've been in this for 5 years, let me say something here. The community of seduction, the seduction community, or the PUA community, I didn't like it when I first learned about it. I thought it was very negative. But I've learned something, and what I've learned is that it's evolved. It's evolving, and it is evolved. And where it is evolving to is becoming a community of self-aware people who are into self-development. And women don't want to be picked up. They want to be seduced. There's a big difference. Big difference. Going up and using pick-up lines, going up and using techniques, they might work, but you're still going to have to reveal yourself at some point. And when you give richness, when you give your time, when you give approval, you're going to get it back big time. And a little homework assignment for you, all those people familiar with Fight Club, homework assignment. Write this down, men, women, write this down. I want you to spend, when you next go out, and almost every time you go out, I want you to devote 2 interactions worth of time, which can be a lot of time for some people, validating somebody. Find somebody and validate them. Make them feel good. Find something to compliment them on. Find something that will make them feel good. If a lady has a particularly elegant piece of jewelry on, comment on it. Be detailed. Don't say you look great. That's throwaway. Comment on it. And here's why. There is a story behind everything. My favorite thing to say to someone, we're going to get into a little more practical stuff here, a little bit more, the outer game stuff, because I know we've been very theoretical recently. Here's a little bit of technique. This is a technique, and it works. I've asked you to spend 2 interactions worth of time. Before you go and do your approaching for yourself, spend 2 approaches, finding the person you're talking to and finding a way to compliment them. Make them feel good in some way. And watch the effect it has. It doesn't matter if they're good looking or, in your perception, not good looking. Find a fat person and make them feel good. Find someone who doesn't look confident and give them something to be confident about. It's really powerful. And what it does is, it makes you feel good. It's that simple. My favorite thing to say to anybody when I just meet them is, what's your story? Very simple. And the reason I say that is because it's such an open-ended question that they can answer it how they want. Now, I won't lie to you, the most common response you're going to get to what's your story is, my story? They've never been asked that before. What's my story? Well, I don't know. What do you mean? Or they'll say, do you mean my story of where I'm from or what I do? And you say, well, whatever you feel. And wherever they're present, wherever they are in their life, they're going to tell you their story. They say, well, I came from here and I did this and that. But you're going to find out something that is whatever they feel, and they will give you loads of things to respond to. It's a very open-ended question. Try it out. What's your story? However it translates in Norwegian, use it. It's beautiful. The other thing is, for some technical stuff, some nice practical stuff, is don't ask what someone does. If you want to get to know somebody, oh, by the way, if you want to have someone interested in you, if you want to gain attraction, you give attraction. Sounds nuts. If you want to be interesting, be interested. I met Neil Strauss in Montreal. He was there to see Gita. We went out for dinner, we had a conversation, and I was expecting, okay, who's this, this is the guy that started it all. I want to find out what he's really got. Was it a fluke? And you know what? He was charming, and the way he was charming is he was extremely inquisitive. He was interested in me, my story. And I didn't know anything about him, only what I'd read. It made me want to get to know him because he's invested energy in me, and it builds up, and I want to give it back. It's the same for women. If you show interest in a woman, and you're really interested in her, but not really approval-seeking, she's going to be interested in you. And also, if you show attraction, we're taught in this community to not show attraction, to not give compliments, and in many ways that's very true. There's a big power about indifference, and there's a huge power about going into an interaction and not having an agenda, not wanting anything from it. It's incredibly disarming. Write this down. The power of indifference. So powerful. I can't believe I just remembered to say it. If I go in and talk to someone, if there's a girl and she's really interesting and I come up to talk to her, I just know that there's something about her, there's some thing she has that I want. I've got a feeling about her. She's incredibly good looking. She's made me this powerful genetic attraction. I've got to go and I've got to basically throw around the room all night. Fantastic. But if I give her attraction, if I show some kind of attraction, what happens is we are programmed to be more attracted to someone that shows us attraction. Because first of all, it's made our job easier. We know that we can be with this person. Secondly, what it does is, if Richard Branson, you know who Richard Branson is? Virgin Airlines? Okay, let's say that Richard Branson comes up to you and says, hey, I've got this money and I was thinking about investing it in something. Do you have anything worthwhile I could invest in? You're going to be like, oh my God, Richard Branson just asked if I've got, well, yeah, I've got this foundation. I want to set up all these seminars for people and it's going to support this. And you can promote this and we can take it into schools. We can have people learning this stuff in school where they're supposed to learn it. You can be like, wow, Richard Branson just asked me where he wants to put his money. If some tramp comes up to you in the street, yeah, I've got a few bob, where should I put it? You're going to fuck off. What's the difference? The difference is you are aware of one person's story because they happen to be famous, they happen to be known. The point is this: if someone comes up to you with attraction, if someone comes up to you with an agenda, if that agenda seems to be something, it can only be for them because they want it. If you're going to take something, if you're going up to a woman because you have an agenda to get with her, you're going to shut her down. She's going to be like that. It's instant. You'll feel it. You've all felt this, right? When you next go to a girl, I want you to do this. Don't want anything from it. Just go there without expecting anything. Don't expect anything. Simply choose to share some fun. be playful, be confident, have some fun. As Leah said earlier, nobody goes into a bar to have a serious conversation. Remember to be playful. Remember to not want anything. Give something, give your time, because when you give someone a compliment, that they've earned it. Remember what I said about time and investing it, what you value? If I go to someone in a bar and I invest all my time without them knowing my value, they're not going to value my time that I give. But if I talk a little bit about myself, say, well, I've done this and I've done that, or say I happen to be Richard Branson and they don't know that, but I tell them, well, you know, I have this and I started this, and all my profits for my airlines and my trains, they go into researching more renewable sources, all those things. Well, they're going to, wow. Then they're going to listen to you. It's not a trade. It's not an exchange it's not trading. You know, you're not giving something to get something, because that's a betrayal. You know, it's betrading. You know, don't betrayed each other, is what I'm saying. But the point is, exchange energy. Whatever you give back. Because even with sex is an energy exchange. And it's the number one reason why we're all here. Whether we think about it or not, we're actually here because we want our genes to go on. We want our genes to go off into the stars. We want part of us out there, standing with our maybe celestial brethren like on Star Trek, exploring galaxies, seeding the worlds in our own image. We want to be part of that. And that is powerful, and that is worth being here for. That is worth investing your time for. And thank you for being here. Thank you.